Hello and welcome to From the BLN, the Burnley podcast. I'm Andrew Greaves, joined by Darren Bentley and Justin Connolly. We're going to do a bit more of a deeper dive into, get this, Burnley 2, Sunderland 0. The Clarets getting their first Premier League win of the season at the first time of asking at Turf Moor, extends Scott Parker's record of never being beaten as a Burnley manager in a competitive game, I should say. I know we got beat by Lazio. But an afternoon full of positives on the field. The performances of Leslie Ugo-Chukwu, I'm sure we'll talk about. The performances of Hajmal Ekdal, we'll probably talk about. And an absolute captain's performance from Josh Cullen. But Justin, we were a little bit, perhaps, kind of, I don't know, written off by pretty much all of the Sunderland fans who thought they were going to come marauding down for the northeast and get a 2 or 3-0 win. We were written off by most of the pundits who thought that Sunderland were going to get the upper hand. But in essence, a very, very good day at the office for Scott Parker's side.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, performance-wise, I don't think I'm as enthusiastic about it as the lads on the rapid reaction on Saturday. I thought first half was a bit of a difficult period. I thought they controlled the ball a little better than we did. They had the better chances. You know, they had a couple of chances that we could easily have been 2-0 down by half time. Obviously, second half was, a very, very different game. I thought we were really, really solid defensively, and if you've got that, you can, there's really something to build on. It was almost like a bit of the opposite of the Spurs game, wasn't it? In the sense that both sides created chances. They had the better of the first half. We had the better second. We just took our chances and they didn't, and I think that's indicative of the fine margins we're playing. I don't think they were as bad as the lads on Saturday were making out. I thought in the first half they controlled the ball really well and carved us open a couple of times. But once we got the measure of them, in that second half, I thought we were superb defensively, and there's loads of great performances to talk about there.
Yeah, we'll come on to some of those individual performances perhaps in a couple of minutes, Daz. But did you read the game the same as Justin? I mean, I think at half time we were kind of going, it's a good game of football. We're still in it. We've had a goal choked off. But, if I think the chatter in our WhatsApp group was, get us stuff together and we can win this game. Is that how you kind of felt as well, sat in the stands at Turf Moor?
Yeah, completely. I agree with Justin. I think the lads on last night's reaction must have had a 4-pack of Favela each. I think they were getting a little bit over-enthused.
Slumlager does that.
Yeah. I think I put it in the WhatsApp group at half-time. I thought it was a little bit sluggish again. There was a lack of creativity and we didn't really have any punch about us. As well as Foster played, he did what he normally does, which is play well 35 yards from goal. But I don't know what happened at half-time, what was said at half-time, but I thought we came out the second half a different team on the front foot. And the goal after 2 minutes, of course, that settles everybody down then and it gets everybody up in the stands and the confidence starts flowing. And from that point on, I don't think we ever really looked back. I mean, you can say it was a little bit of a nervy last 15, 20 minutes, but until we got the second goal, but I don't think it was. I mean, Dubravka's not made a save in that second half. But as Justin said, it could have been a completely different story if their lad takes a chance early doors when he missed kicks from 6 yards and Dubravka just powers it away and then the lad who slots it just wide of the post as well. One of those goes in and it's a completely different game. We're 1-0 down at home. Rogue, woe is us, here we go again. But the lads, to their credit, I think they dug in, as Justin said, defended brilliantly, I thought, when we needed to. Hats off to Ekdal because I'm not his greatest fan, but I thought he was terrific yesterday. And all round, it was just a great day.
Yeah. And Justin, I mean, we kind of ummed and ahed and we kind of, in the preview pod, were kind of trying to surmise what Scott Parker might do in terms of formation and personnel. We kind of almost, we kind of guessed that he'd bring in Leslie Ugo-Chukwu for a full debut and that proved to be I think he's going to be a real signing because he looks, I still don't think he's fully match speed yet, but he looks really good. And then he went with Jakob Brun-Larsen, who I think probably, summed up what Daz was saying about half-time in our WhatsApp group. He looked really sluggish, didn't he, first half? He looked not uninterested. That's probably doing him a disservice. And then second half, he came out and we got a lot of energy from him.
Yeah.
I mean, again, in hindsight, we've won 2-0, so the answer is obviously yeah. But those changes that Scott Parker made in terms of going to a back four and then later in the game switching to that back five, does that show a new dimension to Scott Parker, who perhaps last year stuck with the same formation, stuck with the same team? We've talked a bit about, do we stick with a five or go with a four? Does this show a new dimension to Scott Parker?
Well, I think he was a little bit flexible last season, wasn't he? He did change things up according to the occasion, according to the opposition, according to whether we're playing at home or away. Brum Lawson's obviously a bit more of an offensive player than Oliver Son, so maybe he's thinking we're playing a weaker side, we're playing at home, it's time to be a bit more aggressive. I'm not sure that came off. I don't think Brum Lawson had a great game, but we know what he can do. We know he's got the potential, and looking at the bench, we've got the opportunity then to sort of switch it up a little bit. What it shows is the willingness and the ability to see what's going on in the game, react to it, and manage the game out. I mean, it's going. I think Daz is right. Going 1-0 up in the Premier League, it's a situation where you really don't want to sort of sit back and defend, because that's when the nerves come. But I think they did that, and they did it perfectly. Playing a little bit on the break. If you sit back, you've got those two banks of four. You can keep them at bay. You can always shepherd people into areas where there's lots of traffic, and they just ran out of ideas and had no way to get through it. And then you're always going to get another chance, and we got more than one more chance. But and putting one away, 2-0, job done. That's the game managed, isn't it? That's what we were lacking last time in the Premier League. Apart from making really, really stupid mistakes that we didn't do on Saturday, we were able to manage the game and pace ourselves perfectly, take that chance when we got it, and I think that in itself is a really good sign for what's to come. If we can manage games as well as that against better opposition, then we will. We've got some good players. We will create chances, and it's about being aggressive with that and sticking them away. People are saying it's a foregone conclusion that we were already relegated before we started. Having watched a couple of games over the weekend, I'm not even sure we're going to be in a relegation fight, to be honest, because I've seen some awful. I mean, Wolves were an absolute shambles yesterday, weren't they? Yeah. I don't know if you caught any of that game.
Yeah. West Ham, you might as well relegate now if that's how they're going to play in the first two games, isn't it? Really,
exactly. And I watched United this afternoon, and I don't think we've got anything to fear from going there. I'm going to regret saying that this time next week, but. I don't think any of this is a foregone conclusion, and I'm not like really, really sort of ecstatic about the performance, but I think there's some really good signs to build on going forward.
And Daz, I mean, the last time we were in the Premier League, I think we all kind of agreed that obviously the team selections and this kind of grabbing these youngsters from Europe with no experience was never going to work. But there was also a kind of brittleness to that Burnley side, wasn't there, from a confidence point of view, from a stature point of view. One thing that was really striking yesterday is because of, Ugo Chukwu in the middle and, Kyle Walker can look after himself. We just look a bigger side, don't we? Look a lot more robust, even if we're not bigger in stature. Hartman is only a short lad and things like that. But there's a robustness to this Burnley side, isn't there, that perhaps we didn't have under Company. And does that give us that kind of, that ability to go toe to toe with the likes of Sunderland, who you've got to beat, and I think you've got to beat them to 0 in your home games, but also that next level up of teams, that kind of, what would it, traditionally would be 17th to perhaps 8th.
Yeah, perhaps. I think we should temper this by not getting too carried away, because we beat a bang average Sunderland team. No, I'll tell that back. Not a bang average Sunderland team, a hard working but pretty toothless Sunderland team, I would say. So, who would beat a even more bang average West Ham the week before. So we can't get too carried away with this. But Justin is right. There's a foundation to build from. As much as anything, a win like that gives you the belief It gives you the belief that you belong. It's important to get that early win on the board. Was it 7 or 8 last time we lost on the spin at the start? And suddenly you're chasing your tails before you even start. And we could well end up like that with the coming games. We might still be chasing our tail a little bit, but you've got to win on the board, and it gives you that belief. And you touch on the sort of the squad. We've got leaders out there. We've got the Kyle Walkers. We've got the Josh Cullens as leaders. Foster's been there before and done it. Jayden Anthony grows in stature for me week on week. For such a young, I say young, it's mid-20s, I suppose, but for such an inexperienced Premier League player, he just wants the ball. He just wants to take it on. And we've got players like that in the side, and I think that bodes really well. I thought we got a little bit into our shell a little bit when he made the substitution and brought Son on in the second half. For obvious reasons, he wanted to protect what we had, and it hurt us offensively, that, because I thought we never looked a threat from that point on. But what I will say is those 2 goals we scored, if Liverpool scored those 2 goals, I'm telling you now, Liverpool scored those 2 goals, Sky Sports are showing them on loop for 48 hours.
Yeah.
They were fantastic goals, both of them. Really fantastic goals. Everybody believes a little bit more. That's what a win gives you at the start of the season, doesn't it? And you go to Man United, as Justin said, next week, nothing to fear from Man United. You might as well go out there and give it a go. If we lose the game, we're expected to lose the game, but give it a go. And if we play like we did at Spurs, we ain't going to get beat 3-0 at Man United if we play that way.
No, definitely not. And just touch on Anthony and Cullen, obviously both from left the field with a goal and an assist, Justin.
Yep.
I mean, there is a real kind of, the talk from Evansy at least is, we'd have Brownhill back. We shouldn't let Brownhill go. I mean, Cullen really kind of fulfills that Brownhill role yesterday, didn't he, on Saturday? He was in the position where Brownhill would usually pick the ball up for his goal, and he plays the kind of forward pass that you'd expect Brownhill to play for Anthony. It kind of, is it the best thing for everybody involved that Brownhill's not there because we're able to build a system in a slightly different way?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'm not one of these people that's mourning the loss of Brownhill. Don't particularly want him to come back. I don't think he's ever going to have a season like he had last season again, and he's certainly not going to be doing that in the Premier League. And even last season, we commented quite often about how he can sort of disappear in games. You can't do that in the Premier League. I think there's 2 things at play there. I think Big Les alongside Cullen in the middle allows Cullen to play a little bit more. But I was also really impressed by Cullen's performance as an individual. I think last time we were in the Premier League, we all felt he just was a bit short of the standard required. I think eventually he got dropped, didn't he, by Company, despite sort of starting the season just a little bit off the pace. But yesterday I thought, again, as Dad says, we were playing, one of the promoted sides, a side that we, finished many, many points ahead of last season. But he looked like he'd grown into it a little bit more. He looked like he'd grown, maybe that season he's learned from. He's had another good season in the Championship under his belt. He just seemed to be a little bit more savvy yesterday. Do you know what I mean? I thought he was in the right place at the right time a lot more than he was the last time we were in the Premier League. He wasn't, the game wasn't being played around him. He was at the heart of it.
I'd agree. Yeah.
And that's, again, a really good sign. Remains to be seen whether he can do that against some of the better sides, but he's got a minder next to him now, hasn't he? Who might be able to look after him a little bit better than what he's had around him in the past. So, again, another really good positive. Again, we can't get too carried away, but that is a fact that's happened in that game, and it's all positive for me. Brownhill can't look after Cullen in the way that Big Les can. Anthony, I thought I agree again with him. Early on in the game, in the first half, he didn't look like he had the legs to get away from his man, but he certainly showed a turn of pace on that goal. I don't know if anybody's seen that video of him sort of commenting on it on Instagram. he's just saying, I'm knackered, my legs have gone. I don't know how I managed to run that fast, that far. And then, how I managed to score, get it. He's just like, my quads are tight. I can barely stand up. That's why he had to do the knee slide for this celebration.
He has to do a lot of work. He has to do a lot of work.
He does do a lot of work. Yeah. So I mean that's positive as well. That you look at that performance and you've got to think that fullbacks, coming up against him in the upcoming games aren't going to be looking forward to playing against him. You've got to watch that first touch because he can take the ball away from you and being open space in the blink of an eye. So we'll see how it all. It's exciting to think about how it could go, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. We've got a couple of our fan reaction videos, which we always ask you for. So the first one we're going to play is Nathan Gerrard. He sent this rather excitable video in after Burnley's win over Sunderland.
That feels absolutely massive. The vintage Clarets are back. That game very much felt like a return to the Burnley of old, where we would stick games out in the Premier League under Sean Dyche all those years ago, and it felt the same. It had that same feel to it. I think the experiment under Vincent Kompany was very, very clearly a turn in the wrong direction for who Burnley are as a football club, and that right there is exactly what we need to be. Under Scott Parker, we can go back to being who we are, and we can go back to the principles of how we were under Sean Dyche, because we know those principles work, and we know that that is how you stay in the Premier League. Those principles are beating those around us, taking points from those in mid-table, and maybe you never know against the big boys, but if you can do that and stick to that, then you have a chance in this league. And if we can replicate what we did in the past, we have a chance this time. But on the pitch, those principles are be dogged, be aggressive, win your second balls, fight for everything, stay compact, stay difficult to beat, and that's exactly what we were today. Sunderland couldn't break us down, and I thought every single player on the pitch today was excellent. The tactics today may have been very, very basic, but they work. You go a goal ahead and you defend your box, you stick an extra defender on, you bring Son on, you make it a back five, you keep your midfield compact, you be impossible to break down, and that's what we were. I want to give individual shout-outs, but I can't because every single player was brilliant today. But I will try and pick some players out. Josh Cullen and Jayden Anthony, both 10 out of 10s today. Hjalmar Ekdal headed absolutely everything. I don't think he lost a single header today. Kyle Walker, brilliant covering in behind Ekdal. That was worked perfectly. Just so many star performances today. Incredible. But now next week we have to go to Old Trafford and try the same principles again, stick to it, dog out a performance, and maybe try and nick a point or three from one of the big boys. Who knows?
Who knows, indeed. Wow. Very excitable. But he's right, though, isn't he, Justin? In terms of, we've spoken a lot about this, and we get the Mickey taken out of us for the amount of times we mentioned Sean Dyche. But he's right. This Parker team is the best of the Sean Dyche pragmatism, win games, beat teams around you, take points off mid-table, which is what we hope is going to play out. Try and get a win at the big boys or against the big boys. But there's a bit of that VK glint, isn't there, in some of the kind of profiles of the players who, you can't necessarily imagine Sean having a Jayden Anthony or having a, Loom Chowner or whatever. They don't feel like Dyche players, do they? But no. The principles should always remain the same, shouldn't it? You've got to see out games, you've got to win games, you've got to know how to stay in the Premier League.
Yeah, you've got to be able to manage games, and you've got to find a formula that gets you enough points. I don't know about harking back to the Sean Dyche era. I think there were very different teams over that entire period of short. Some of them were better footballing sides than others. And the ones that stick in the memory are the later ones, which weren't quite at the same level, were they? Due to the underinvestment. It's funny though. The guy there was just talking about the identity of the club. Now, I don't see Burnley as being one of these sort of dogged, sit back, defend. I think of Burnley as being like a sort of progressive, fast wing play, that sort of stuff, from a bygone era that predates Sean Dyche by several decades. Maybe the personality of the club has changed. Maybe Sean Dyche has moulded it in a different direction. I don't think this side is that. I think it's much more entertaining than certainly what we saw in the latter years of the Dyche period. But what he is right, and it's a basic principle of football, isn't it? It's not rocket science. You got to try not to concede goals, and you've got to try to score some. That's what every football team tries to do. I don't know about principles or identity. To me, it's just about managing games, taking your chances when you get them, being well organised, knowing what the job is, and carrying it out. And I think that's what we did on Saturday. We just did the job, and we did it in to me at least, a reasonably entertaining way.
We're gonna play another video. We've got Holly Byrne-Sims also making her From the Be All End debut. So this is Holly's take on Burnley versus Sunderland.
Burnley 2, Sunderland 0, and what a team performance it was from the Clarets yesterday. We had a lot of standout players on the pitch yesterday. Cullen, obviously, the standout. He was really visionary in the way that he found space. He always seemed to be one step ahead of the rest of the field, thinking about where he needed to place the ball, finding those passes, and also tracking back and getting those essential interceptions and challenges in where he needed to be. Esteve, Walker and particularly Ekdal, from my perspective, had great games as well at the back. I wasn't sure how Ekdal would fit into a Premier League team. Obviously, he's not had a lot of game time. He's not had a lot of experience at the Premier League level or at Championship level, to be honest, but I feel like he really grew into that role. Anthony did exactly what we needed him to do on the day. Great finish from him, great ball management in the lead up to Cullen's goal as well. Lyle Foster, absolutely spectacular today. I think if he gets a little bit of confidence behind him, keeps having those balls pressed forward to him and he's on the receiving end of those, I feel like he will eventually, break that little kind of mental block that he's got in place at the moment, score that first goal, and then hopefully the floodgates will open for him. Really, really good team performance. Really pleased. Not getting carried away. But yeah, good things we're seeing yesterday, and I hope it's a sign of things.
There we go. Let's sign of things to come. Let's touch on Foster, Daz, because and let's not just touch on Foster. Let's touch on that goal, right? Because I'm calling it a goal because these are kind of fouls that really piss me off, and I don't mind using a slight expletive because it's one of them that the defender goes down, the referee's always going to give it. But on Match of the Day, there was a little bit of it wasn't quite a freeze frame, but I just noticed it. One of the Sunderland players is basically saying to the defender, like, what the hell were you doing there? He thought it was a goal. And the defender just shrugged as if to say he was stronger than me. They weren't huge appeals from Sunderland. VAR, John Brooks, who was the VAR official for the James Tarkowski handball against Leeds, he's had another shocker, hasn't he? Is it a foul? I mean, it looks like a coming together of legs. Would we be annoyed if the goal was given, or have we got Clarets into spectacles on?
For a start, VAR's had a ridiculously bad start to the season. Yeah, not just with Burnley, but again, generally. Another bad weekend. That's two bad weekends in a row. You talk about Tarkowski's handball, but Trafford stays on the pitch for his handball. Yeah. For a start, the United debacle today with the penalty.
Ridiculous.
But in terms of Foster, I think the referee blows quite quickly, which probably influences it a little bit. And I think in the Championship, that's probably given us a foul, and we don't get that goal. With the hindsight of VAR, the whole point of VAR is to correct mistakes, and they keep falling back on this clear and obvious error thing. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's clear and obvious. If it's wrong, it's wrong. And I don't think they're spending enough time sometimes looking at these things. So, I mean, it sounds strange because sometimes they take forever, but I don't think they look at the incident. And I think, like Simon mentioned yesterday, initially I was thinking arms, and it turns out to be, and it come up on the big screen at Burnley, it was a clear trip. And when you look back at it, it is not a clear trip. So therefore, it's not a clear and obvious error. And Lyle Foster should be up and running for the season, deservedly so, and I'm one of his harshest critics, because I don't think he's got goals in him. But I thought he was terrific yesterday. He led that line so well.
It's a good finish for the goal as well, isn't it?
Once
he's got clear of the defender, it's a great finish.
Yeah, for someone who hasn't scored many goals, you might be a little bit hesitant. He took it great. But he holds the line up well. He occupies people. Sometimes his touch is terrific. Sometimes his touch isn't terrific. But he's a presence up there. And when he's playing like that, he's a force. So, yeah, every credit to him yesterday. I thought he was really good. And he was decent at Spurs, by the way, when he got the ball. So it's been a good start to the season for Lyle Foster. But VAR, don't even get me started. I was a fan of VAR when it started, but at the minute, you just can it off. It is ridiculous.
It's interesting that you say that, Daz, because I thought, and it's never clear. This is the one thing that the TV audience has over the people in the stadium. I mean, the little screen telling you there was a VAR check went on for about 10 minutes after the game had restarted, and it's never really clear what's going on. I thought the referee had given a foul on the pitch, and the VAR check was on whether that was a mistake, which is a different thing to him giving a goal and then it being a check. And I think that is one of the inconsistencies with VAR. I think VAR is sometimes somewhat reluctant to overturn what the decision is made on the pitch if it's not, wildly obvious. It's just something that the refs missed. I mean, it could be that it was the other way around, but I thought I saw the referee blow and give a free kick on the pitch.
I'm with you. I thought he gave it on the pitch, and I thought he blew before the ball hit the net.
Yeah, I thought he'd given it on the pitch, the same as you. One thing that I thought was interesting is we now get the exact decision, don't we? Rather than it just saying no goal. I mean, it came 6 or 7 minutes later, and I know they put it out on X as well. That's the new way of doing things this year is they will explain decisions because we don't have the benefit of, the audio that the TV broadcasters hear. But I thought that was quite interesting. That now comes up on the screen. It makes it even more annoying when it says clear trip. VAR felt clear trip by Lyle Foster on defender.
They also show it as well, don't they?
He did show it, yeah. That's the other thing, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, they never...
And that's the problem. It says clear trip. You can see it on the screen. It's not a clear trip. It's a coming together of two bodies where one guy's stronger than the other. And he might clip his heels on the way through, but he's certainly not tripping him. No, it was an awful decision, I thought.
Yeah. If that's not in the penalty box, let's say that's outside of the 18-yard box on one of the wings, how many times have we seen that kind of thing happen and the winger goes on then to put a cross into the box, somebody scores for it, and it's a goal because it's not, you know what I mean? It's not, it's just a coming together of legs, isn't it?
No, I'm the other way around there. I think that's in the middle of the pitch. I think it's given as a foul and all day long. But in the area...
I think in the middle of the pitch...
In the area, you have to be sure that's a foul.
Yeah. I think in the middle of the pitch...
can correct you.
Yeah, I think in the middle of the pitch it is. I think if you're in the final third out wide, it's not given as a foul. No, I think wingers get that, and you almost get that sometimes. Wingers, they come together with a defender and they get beyond that defender. The defender's sprawling. Very rarely do they ever kind of pull it back because unless it's a really obvious trip... And this is what's the inconsistency, isn't it? We both probably agree that in the middle of the park, it's one of them horrible kind of, a player under pressure, he goes down, he knows he's getting the free kick. Every team does it. But I think out wide, the attacking player out wide, final third, gets the benefit of the doubt 7 or 8 times out of 10.
He's just beating his man there, isn't he?
Just beating his man. These are coming together and he's beating his man. And this is the frustrating thing about VAR.
The frustrating thing to me is I no longer know what a foul is and what a foul isn't.
Yeah, we don't know what handball is and we don't know what a foul is, do we?
I mean, there was a Manchester United goal today. Lenny Yoro header deflected in. He quite clearly pushes the defender out of the way with both hands.
Yeah.
You can see it all day long. Now, that's a foul, isn't it? But there was no sort of no question of it being examined by VAR, and I don't. That this is what you fail to understand. What constitutes a foul? I mean, I thought the penalty was a really clear penalty. The guy just threw I don't know who it was through to the ground. It was an obvious penalty, and the referee didn't see it, so that's fair enough. But then you go up the other end, and that happens, and you just sort of think, well, what is a foul now? What do you have to do to? And it just seems like, it's like you said, there seems to be different standards in the penalty area than there is anywhere else on the pitch. You see players just stop, and the guy running after them can't stop, runs into the back of him, knocks him over. That's a foul, but it's not really, is it? Because it's but I just. But
you're always going to get those inconsistencies in refereeing decisions. The thing is, VAR is supposed to then iron them out.
Iron them out, but it doesn't. It doesn't, and it's difficult to understand why. I think we need a bit of a lighter touch on the VAR. I think it just needs to only get involved when it's just something that's so obvious that it cannot be. It's not controversial, because it's always. I think Howard Webb last season said, there's always going to be a level of subjectivity to it, even when you watch it over and over and over again in slow motion. Sometimes it depends on what your prejudices are. What looks like a clear penalty to me won't look like a clear penalty to a fan of the opposition. That's natural, isn't it? So you just got to step back and say, well, we're only going to get involved when it's something that is so obvious that we just cannot simply ignore it and put it down to experience. Otherwise, we just, it seems to me now that we've got to the point where VAR is actually examining every second of every game.
They want to, don't they? They want to examine more incidents and different incidents, don't
just
they?
To try and find some way that they can influence the game. And I don't like that. It was much better last season when the ball hit the back of the net and the referee said that's a goal. It was a goal.
Even the Burnley goal, they were trying to find a way to disallow it for offside.
I can't believe that. I was like, is it Hannibal in the middle challenging when the shot comes in? I think it was Jakob Brun-Larsen on the far side in the build-up to it. And I was like, is it a foul? Is it offside? And it's, it was very kind of...
And how far back are you going to go? How far back are you going to go? Yeah. It was one of those goals that I thought, like the championship season, when you score, I thought there's nothing can disallow this one.
No.
I was up straight away. There's nothing can disallow this. And then you see it come up and you think, here we go again.
Yeah. And the Sunderland players even kicking the ball back to the goalkeeper as if to say, he's referee's VAR's disallowed this. And then all of a sudden the referee just went, goal. And then they had to, but...
it's weird because the other rule change, the goalkeeper holding the ball for only 8 seconds. I quite like that because I
think that's a good idea.
You don't see the keeper fall into the ground and looking around and rolling over a little bit before I mean, until they get used to it, it's going to invoke
I don't think
Dubravka.
I don't think Dubravka's used to it yet. The amount of times Burnley players are going, drop the ball, you've got to drop the ball, mate. Martin, drop the ball.
There's a bit of chaos.
It's a bit.
But I kind of like the chaos. I like, it gets the game moving, and it forces a pace to the game that wasn't there before. But then on the other side of the coin, VAR's ruining that kind of
taking the pace out of the game, isn't it?
It's just stopping
start nature. Yeah.
I mean, the penalty today for United was like the game had gone on for another sort of 3 or 4 minutes before they. What would have happened if somebody'd scored in those 3 or 4 minutes? They would have to go back and disallow that and go back. I mean,
well, we had that, didn't we? I can't remember who it was against. Do we have a penalty incident at one end, a handball? The team went up the other end and scored, and then they brought it back for the Burnley penalty. It was Burnley incident at the Jimmy Mack end, and then they scored at the cricket field end, etc., etc. We're going to look ahead to Derby in a second, but Daz, just on Loom Chowner, I think I've pronounced his name wrong. Lazio lad, as I like to call him. He looked an interesting proposition when he came on, didn't he? I kind of thought against his old club Lazio, he was a bit kind of bull in a china shop, all muscle and directness. But, he hit the outside of the post, which I didn't realise he hit the outside of the post until I saw it on the big screen. And he plays the lovely ball inside for Cullen to then hit first time for Anthony. He's one of these players who perhaps came in the summer and we were a bit like, it's an AOK Moneyball signing. He's probably not going to get a look in. He's going to be one of these who, he's out on loan next season. But he's come on twice against Spurs and Sunderland, and he was quite impressive, wasn't he, on Saturday against Sunderland?
I like him. He's got a bit of something about him. You can just tell that, I think. I mean, that little flick to Cullen was a confident flick. The first time shot that hits the outside of the post, the lad's not frightened. He's got a bit of belief in him, hasn't he? So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. I like what I saw. He looks like he's got a bit of pace about him. He's a big lad, which helps. Gets about the pitch. I was quietly impressed with him. I really was. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
And Derby County on in midweek, Justin, gives us an opportunity to perhaps see a bit more of someone like him, get Fleming some extra minutes in the legs, perhaps we might see Armando Broja. I know, managers, when you're in the Premier League and you're perhaps in the position we're in, can be sometimes a bit dismissive of cup competitions. But the fact is, we've got a big squad. We've talked about that enough. But we've also got a lot of players who are now knocking on the door of a first team start because of the impressions they've made over the first two Premier League games. Are you kind of expecting Parker to use that as an opportunity to test out a Chowner and perhaps see where Fleming's up to, get Broja involved, perhaps even give Ugo Chukwu a full 90 minutes because he pulled up and went off with cramp?
Yeah, if he can manage a full 90 minutes.
Are you expecting that to be the
I think
case?
it'll be a totally different team. I think we've done that. We did that last season. There's no reason why we're not going to do it in the Premier League. And I think even we should have more than enough to get through that game, shouldn't we? Like Daz, it didn't take long for Chowner to be on the pitch before I started getting excited when he got the ball, sort of thinking he looks like the sort of player that's going to excite the fans, and he was well up for it, wasn't he? When he won a throw in down in the corner, and he was giving it all this to the fans as if he'd scored the winning goal in the cup final.
Scored the winner at Ewood. Yeah.
I love that sort of thing. I think Parker has said that Broja is close to knocking on the. He could have been on the bench on Saturday, but I think he's expecting him to be involved against Derby. So yeah, I mean, it's like you say, we've got a big squad. We've got some players who should be using that opportunity to make the case for knocking on the manager's door and saying, "Come on, give me a go in the first team in the Premier League." So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they line up, and I think I thought the bench was pretty strong on Saturday. And I'd like to see some more of those players get a little bit more game time. I'm not sure about Big Les, whether he needs a little bit of a rest, because he looked like he cramps up a little bit. A bit worried about Estev as well. I think he cramps up as well, didn't he?
He replied to someone's comment saying, "Don't worry, it's just cramps."
Oh, that's
so
all right. But I don't know whether we should be getting cramp in
2 games in.
2 games into the season. That
I think just in wholesale changes, you'll see Lanky in goal. You'll see Perez playing. You might, if Roberts is fit, Roberts will play. Worrell will play centre back. I think Laurent will play. It wouldn't surprise me if he leaves Broja. You've got another 1 game until the international break when they can really get some more work into Broja. It wouldn't surprise me if we don't see him at all, or we see him maybe on the bench at Man United, and then after the break he comes back. That wouldn't surprise me at all, and play Fleming up front. Or Chaumer.
What did we all make of the changes to the layout of the stadium on?
I was going to ask about that. From an atmosphere point of view, I actually think it's the best atmosphere we've had for a while. Kind of how much of that is the change around. I wonder how much of that is the kind of, as we've said before, the performance on the pitch, because certainly second half it's as good as we've had in the Premier League for many a year. Daz, were you kind of impressed with the changes? I know we've obviously, people have said about the obvious changes like the bottleneck and things like that, and I've seen some videos and pictures of lots of people trying to get out down the side of the club shop. My own personal kind of experience wasn't that bad, but I kind of sit on row T of the North Upper, so it takes me a while to get down. I had a wee afterwards as well, so maybe some of that bottleneck had gone, but it didn't feel like the kind of apocalypse that we were perhaps expecting it, was it? Now, again, we're not playing a big side.
It felt to me, It might have been optical illusion. It felt to me like the away end was bigger than it was when it was the other way around.
I definitely
felt like
think it was.
It feels like that's bigger. The tunnel just looks wrong in that corner for some reason. And I know it's a temporary tunnel at the minute. There's talk of LED tunnels and flashing lights and things. But I still can't get used to the tunnel being in that corner. But I fully understand why they've done that, because for years we didn't want the away fans at the side of a tunnel. We wanted our players to go in with home fans on the other side. So that works okay, I think. Once they get a proper tunnel in there that seems to fit in that corner a little bit better rather than just jut out.
It's squeezed into it.
It doesn't feel right somehow. And when I saw the video of the players going into the tunnel, I thought that tunnel needs a lick of paint, by the way. There needs a bit of decor in there. So there's obviously a work in progress there. As for the bottleneck, I mean, I'm lucky that I sit in the Jimmy Mack lower, so we were literally out and away.
Yeah.
In fact, I got home quicker than any other game I've been home in the last 5 years, so I'm all for the changes. But what I think, I saw videos afterwards of a bottleneck forming at the gate, and that's fine on a Saturday afternoon in August when it's a cold, wet, dark October and November night. That's going to be quite dangerous, I think. I'd like to see him punch a few holes in that wall or in the fence outside the Jimmy Mack stand, so at least the people that are going out that way up the Ginnels can get away.
And the lower end of the Turf Moor estate.
Yeah, I think it would ease that flow a little bit. So I'm not sure how that's going to work yet, but it's a bit like Disneyland. They're forcing you around by the gift shop on your way out, aren't they? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
They'd also sort of, when I went out again, like you guys, I didn't have any problems, but because I'm right at the back of the North Stand, I always sort of start making my way down with a minute, 30 seconds to go before the whistle. So because
you're the one, are you? You're
the one I always say to myself. I always say to her, I say, "This bloody going to be 10 minutes of injury time. Yeah, where's he going? What's he doing?"
But if I don't do that, I'm stood at the top waiting for everybody else to filter out in front of me. So I didn't see any problems. They did weirdly create a bit of an artificial bottleneck by parking the two team coaches.
That was weird. Yeah, that was weird, weren't it? Yeah,
it right in the middle of where everybody was
just
trying
as you're
to
coming
get
out. Yeah, that was a bit weird.
I wasn't sure about that. They've definitely given more seats to the away fans, because comparing the cricket field stand to how it was before, it was more or less half and half.
Yeah.
The actual line between the two fans
was pretty much
directly behind the goal. Now they've got more like 2/3 of it, really. So I don't know how that works out with season tickets, where if they've moved people, but I don't know.
I think there's more seats in there because of the move from the old wooden seats, which were probably much wider than the plastic seats, to these railway, these standing seats, if that makes sense. I think
but it can't be a financial thing, can it? Because the away seats are capped, aren't they, at sort of 30 quid or something in the Premier League. So I don't know whether I don't know. You would think they would want more home seats because they can make more money on that, but. Yeah, the move of it seemed to affect the atmosphere, but in a positive way to me, totally opposite to what I thought it was going to be. Even though there were more Sunderland fans there than there's ever been any, I thought they made less, or they appeared to me from where I was, to make less noise. The Burnley fans dominated the noise making, I thought, whether that's anything to do with the move or whether it was a good performance from the Clarets, I don't know. I agree about the tunnel. That's the third time they moved the tunnel. Second time they moved the tunnel. Second time. It used to be almost in the middle of the cricket field stand, didn't it? Once upon a time, which is right outside the changing rooms, I think. So they're a little bit further away than
they've got a fair walk now to the changing room when they go up that tunnel. But I think it's all part of the master plan as well, because there are plans to develop that corner, and it would not surprise me.
It would not hospitality.
Exactly. It would not surprise me if there's some kind of 2-tier bar and a tunnel club below it that they can sell extra hospitality. Just to finish, I was there early with my lad and a friend of mine at the weekend, and we got there just when the home coach was pulling up. And I have to say, the graphics that they put out showing thousands of fans around the bus might not happen. There were a couple of hundred at best.
I spoke to Kelvin from the Burnley Express, who said about 150, I think.
Yeah, it's one for the kids. Don't get me wrong, it's one for the kids, and it's great that they can see the players coming in. But I don't really see why they've done that. It doesn't work for me. I'm not sure putting digital screens up. I don't see how you're going to get thousands of fans in that corner. You've got cars parked behind you for a start.
Yeah, I don't really want to watch them play football. God, I
Let
don't
alone
want
turn up on a
to
bus.
get off a bus.
That's another.
That's not true, actually. That was just a joke.
We did have somebody asking if we could make a "It's Not For Us" T-shirt. So maybe we should wear them just next to the team bus. It's not for us. It's not
It's
for
one
us.
for you, just
I'd say one more thing though. I tell you what, the half-time thing was a lot better than normal. Just a little simple kids do with a five-a-side game.
Exactly, yeah.
Little interview with Ross Wallace.
Yeah,
Job
that was
good.
so shite though, weren't it?
Well, it's always a bit.
What do you remember about your
pointless,
Burnley
isn't it?
debut?
Yeah.
What were your time at Burnley like? What's your favourite goal? I mean, I think as soon as you said what's your favourite goal, I went Leicester away. You know, you kind of knew it. And the problem is when you've seen Ross Wallace do that 2 or 3 times, you need to mix it up a little bit. And he always feels a bit rushed. And poor Dominic on the mic, I think he was kind of filling time while Ross Wallace had a wee or something. But he was kind of like commentating on the game. And he said on the big screen 5-a-side. It wasn't. It was 4-a-side.
4-a-side.
That annoyed me a little bit.
I was going to say that's typical, isn't it?
It's not 5-a-side, it's 4-a-side. We didn't have time to talk about the floodlights, the mid-game floodlight show, but we'll perhaps leave that because,
and the
like
music,
I say, a day of positives. We should talk about the entrance music.
I thought the music at the start, I thought they did a good job with that. I love the fact they kept times like these. You can't lose times like these. That's almost like a clarion call to take your seat, isn't it, for the Burnley fans? But
yes,
I don't choose the violin note, it never works, but I quite like the spaghetti western style music that came on when it came out from The Good, Bad and the Ugly, I believe, isn't it? So I thought they tried something different.
Ennio Morricone, I think it is.
Anything is better than playing some disco bollocks when they come out. At least it had a bit of something about it, bit of mood.
I struggled a little bit to pick out what it was. I think the speakers were sort of struggling a bit with the volume because I couldn't quite.
The new speaker system as well. That's again, we could probably talk about the new speaker stacks that were hanging down from the front of the new tannoy was slightly too loud at times, but for the entrance music, it was a little bit quiet. Yeah,
that wasn't it. That was all right. It was good.
We're nitpicking a bit, aren't we? It was a good day.
That's
it was a good day.
We're in a position where we're trying to find fault. You know, I actually think, I didn't have a pie. It's very unlike me. I didn't have a pie. But my mate went for a pie and he was 2 minutes. He was in, he was out. You know, last season, sometimes we'd be up there at 10-3, no pies till half time. You know, but he was straight in. The queues were obviously not long because we'd literally turned around and he's come back with his meat and take pie in his hand. So I think we have to give credit where it's due. There's certain things that we're always going to be like, there's chinks and it needs ironing out. But I thought overall, certain aspects that we perhaps have whinged about before,
that were better.
We should give them credit to say,
definitely.
It looks like they are listening and doing stuff. We obviously had Paul from Burnley Cricket Club on and talked about the impact that the messaging had. We perhaps get Paul back on to see how the cricket club's fan part went, and hopefully it went well. But I think credit where it's due. Certain things they've clearly made a big effort to try and get right. It doesn't mean say we won't be critical ever again of certain things, but I think credit where it's due. You take it as you find, don't you? I thought Saturday wasn't perhaps the shit show that it could have been, given the nonsense that the club, the AI generated press release nonsense that the club's, sometimes putting out to try and whip up excitement about changes that nobody really gives a stuff about.
Turning the floodlights on at 4:00 on August the whatever it was, it's probably not a good move, and that didn't go well, did it?
No,
when
from all the LEDs.
They couldn't even ignore it on Match of the Day. I was so embarrassed.
Not when you set them to disco mode, definitely not.
It's like the light show that we had before Tuesday night games coming on, weren't it? But I tell you what, let's leave it there. A slightly longer edition of the Monday debrief. Hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget, do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Lots of kind of YouTube only content. Yeah, we'll be back with a rapid reaction, probably with a rapid reaction after the Derby game, and then we'll be back as usual later in the week with the preview show for the trip to Old Trafford, which actually could be quite tasty given the fact that they've continued their best way to describe it, uninspiring start to the season with a 1-1 draw at Fulham. But until then, until we next see you, up the Clarets.